I'm Angela Murray, SHRM SCP, SPHR, and your favorite HR exam coach. And today we have a very special guest. It is a recent certification professional, and it is Miss Shawna. Shawna has very unique experience, and she is going to talk about how she moved from a confused candidate to a very confident certified professional. Hey, Shawna.
Hi, Angela. How are you?
I'm doing well. How's it going?
Going well, very well.
Good. Well, I'm excited to have you because I think the main thing is I saw your evolution, right? I witnessed it firsthand, and I knew that on the other side of the classes that you were going to have a story to tell, and you were going to be very helpful and give a lot of insight to a lot of people. So thank you for your willingness to share and get other HR professionals to the other side.
Absolutely. I'm happy to share my success.
Okay, very good. So, Shauna, first of all, just tell us a little bit about your background, like what you're currently doing, and why the SHRM certification.
Sure. So I am currently a human resources manager at a nonprofit organization, and I have about 15 years experience in human resources. Um, the SHRM exam, I had often thought to myself, wow, that would be really nice to have that certification. That would make me more marketable. I think people would take me more seriously, but I was always afraid of it. I thought that's for the really smart HR people, not for me, even though I had these years of experience. Yeah, I think I really wanted to get that certification to for people to take me seriously and for them to know that I really had an understanding of everything that was related to human resources.
Yeah. So, how did you first hear about the SHRM certification, and what made you decide, yes, this is the time for me to go for it?
I think, well, I first heard about SHRM. I think if you're in the human resources world, who hasn't heard of SHRM?
That's true.
You have to know what SHRM is. I've always known about it with being in human resources, and of course, a lot of the outlets and resources that I use in my everyday job would gear me towards the Society for Human Resources Management.
Hmm.
So, and then the reason that I wanted to go ahead and take the exam was I just thought I was really at that point in my life that it was time to do that. I know, as I said, I'd been in human resources. I'm going on 15 years, and I really just thought that it was time to have that certification. My son's getting older. I'm close to being an empty nester, and I thought it's time to really invest in myself and take my career a little further.
Yeah. So now you talk about, having this booming career. It's been 15 years now. I know you have a lot of professional responsibility. So how did you manage to balance that professional responsibility with also, you talk about you have a son, and at that time he must have been like a senior in high school. There's a lot of
Yes.
senior activities during that year. So
Yes.
how were you able to balance professional and then personal, and then on top of that now you need to study?
Yes, that is the most important piece of all of this, is making the time. So when I first committed to taking your courses, I knew that it was a 12-week course, and I set out a schedule. And I started off with saying I was going to study for 5 hours a week. Well, of course, our classes on Saturday were sometimes 2.5 hours. So I well exceeded my 5 hours. And I really committed to it. As you said, my son was a senior at the time. He was playing track or running track. And I would sit in the car during his track meets and I would do my studying, and I would often listen to the recordings of the classes that you would send out to us on Sunday. So you really have to make that commitment and
Mhm.
set that that time aside, and really just in the evenings when I got home from work, I would set aside time to make sure that I was studying and going over the material that we had for that week. But I would say that is the most important part, is setting aside that time and mapping out a schedule to know you have X amount of time until your test exam date, and really just filling that with all the studying that you can. And as I mentioned, I took your 12-week course, and I think I had, in between the 12-week course and my exam, I had a week to study. So I really went through all the material again, and took a lot of practice quizzes. But that is my biggest piece of advice, is really dedicating that time to studying. You have to put that effort in. And that's what gives you that confidence going
Right.
into test day, is knowing like I really put in the work. And there were times that I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know. I'm not sure. And I know you even saw it. I would send
Mhm.
you questions and stuff. But when you put that effort in, you learn the material, you know it. So
Mhm. Yeah.
definitely putting in that study time.
So give us a rundown of the resources that you use and what is it that you would consider to be the most impactful resource?
Yes. So my biggest resource, of course, was your 12-week course. I actually found that online through Facebook. So I stumbled up on it, but I started doing a little bit of research, and I started seeing your name come up in your 12-week course. So I immediately signed up for that because the classes are so affordable, and I learned very well in an instructor-led environment. So I really enjoyed like every Saturday. And that was a commitment in and of itself.
It
Every
is.
Saturday I knew that I had to give up 2 to 2.5 hours, but it was worth it because I thought, if I'm going to invest in the time and energy into taking this exam, I want to pass it. So I just had to make that commitment and put that time in. But I also used Dory's book, and I should have brought it with me. You could probably say who it is.
Yeah.
It's the all-in-one exam
Yeah.
guide. And then I did some free online quiz apps that I utilized, but also the quizzes that you sent out every week were very helpful. And then we would have quiz night on Tuesdays, which was really fun. It was a little fun competitiveness
Yeah.
between our class. So I always enjoyed that. Even if I answered something wrong, it was always a learning opportunity. I didn't have to go into it knowing all the answers. It was an
Mhm.
opportunity to learn the material. So, yeah, I would say your classes, the study material that you send out to us, and the quizzes, and then Dory's all-in-one exam book. And it has 3 practice exams in it. And I highly encourage people to take those practice exams, and any practice exams that they can find on the apps. I wish I had the apps. I was going to say, look on my phone and see what those apps were that I utilized.
Oh, you
There's
haven't
some,
given it up yet then. So you still have them downloaded on your phone.
I still have them on my
Oh,
phone because I still like to quiz myself every
oh,
now and then.
that is nice. That may mean that subconsciously you are preparing for maybe the SCP.
That's right. That's right.
Could be. Um,
Yeah.
so since you've told us like some of the most impactful resources that you use, were there things that you did or things that you run into that you thought later, this was a complete waste of my time? Like I should never have used this, picked it up, invested the time, or even looked at it.
Um, Sometimes there were some groups on Facebook that I joined as well, and sometimes you would get some bogus information in
Mm,
those. So you definitely have to fact check what you are getting. Um, One of the things too that I think I stressed a lot over, and I found this in the class, like a lot of us would talk about stressing over, are all the laws. And I think you think, oh my gosh, I've got to learn all these laws and I have to know them all for the test. And on my exam, I think I had one question about laws. So I'm not saying don't study them at all, but don't lose sleep over knowing everyone exactly as it's written,
Right.
familiarize yourself with them.
Right. I most of the time I try to stress that, and memorizing all those laws, first of all, it's just it's not possible. You're not going to do it. But then
Yeah.
even, most people have zero laws on their exam. And then some people have one or two, but those one or two
Yeah,
are not going to be make and break. Like you could, your time
exactly.
is better spent somewhere else rather than just trying to memorize the laws. So is that, or
Absolutely.
what did you find something that was extremely difficult for you, or like which topic was the most challenging for you, or and how did you overcome that?
I think for me, the topic that I struggled with the most was the motivational theories
Mm-hmm.
and the types of leaders, and that was early on in the course. And I don't know if it was just because where when I first came into the 12-week course, my confidence was low, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to learn all this? I don't use this in my everyday job. But I made flashcards, and you just the repetitiveness of learning that information and continuing to look at it. It is hard to memorize it, but sometimes you do, just like the repetitively, you have to keep looking at that information to learn it. I would say those are probably my hardest. And then of course, HR structure.
I was looking for you to
You knew
say
I was
that
going to
one.
say that.
Yeah, I was looking for you because I know I got a lot of questions when I introduced the HR structure, and I had to say, "Don't worry, we're gonna get over it. It's fine."
No. And I think the hardest thing too is, especially for someone like me that has been in human resources for so long, or if you are someone new into human resources, one of the things that we always want to do when we're studying for this exam is we want to relate it to our job. And I would advise not to do that, because a lot of this stuff you may even think like, well, how am I ever going to use this? But you have to think the SHRM way. You're going to be tested on it, and you want to get the certification. So you've just got to learn that material. So the centralized, the decentralized,
Yeah,
all of that, I would think to myself, well, what kind of structure am I in, and
yeah.
I had to stop that train of thought. You really do. You'll hear it a lot, the SHRM way of thinking, and there
Hmm.
really is a SHRM way of thinking.
Yeah, it is. I think that you make a good point, and I say this a lot. That is probably the most difficult piece of the SHRM exam
Mhm.
is unlearning so that you can relearn, right? So you need to start.
Yes.
It's kind of almost better if you come into it like a new HR professional, like you don't have any professional experience,
Yes.
because you have not already been molded. Like
Right.
our years of experience has taught us that there is no perfect organization. Organizations don't have
Right.
everything that they need. So it's difficult for
Exactly.
us to think like some of the answers would be the correct
Yes.
answer.
Yes. And I remember you would say that in class a lot. In a perfect HR world, what would this look like?
Yeah.
So, yes. And I think that probably was one of my biggest challenges of being in HR for so long, and trying to stop that way of thinking and
Mhm.
think the SHRM way, because we all know in the HR world, it is not a perfect HR world.
It's not a
We
perfect
may not
HR
have
world.
jobs then.
Right, exactly. That's funny. But that's true though. That is,
Hmm.
I mean, that's just the real of it.
Right.
We have to deal with what we have. Um, and
Yes.
Sharm kind of assumes that we have every single thing we need, and it's not true, right? So sometimes I think like
Yes.
professionals who have a little bit of experience, or if you've worked in an organization that is like extremely by the book, then maybe, but
Mhm.
yeah, it's just difficult
Right.
for the everyday HR professional to realign their way of thinking.
Yes, for sure. But you can
Yeah.
do
Yeah, you can do
it.
it as evident, like you did it. So,
Yes.
it's definitely
Yes.
possible to do for sure. So,
Yes.
what has happened since you have gotten your SHRM certification? Tell me, like, has this had any impact on your way of thinking, the way that you approach work or your career or anything?
It definitely has had an impact on my career. I still utilize my notes and my book. And like I said, I'm an HR professional. I've been doing this for a long time, but it does give you new insight
Mhm.
into a way of doing things. So, yeah, I pull that book out once a week or my notes out once a week. And I think it helps me think more strategically as well. Instead of just doing the day-to-day HR functions, I'm thinking more strategically. So,
Okay,
yes,
that's good. So we're gonna
yes.
wrap it up with this, and then everybody that comes by has to be involved in one of our games tonight. I think we are going to
Yes.
play True or False. All right.
All right.
But before we get into the True or False game, I just want you to give just your final thoughts. Anybody who's listening, they're thinking about the exam. What should they know? Where should they start? Or what advice would you give them?
I would just tell them to have confidence in yourself. You've come this far to make the decision to take the SHRM certification. Put the time in because you're investing in yourself, you're investing in your future. It really is worth it, and you will feel so good when you pass that exam.
Yeah, I know. I can remember that feeling. Like it's
Yes.
literally the feeling of passing the exam is actually what led me to coaching. Like once I was done studying, I felt so energized, I couldn't let it go. I was like, so I want to do
Yes.
something else now. Right. And so that's kind of, yeah.
Well, you have definitely found your calling because you were a huge factor in this success. So you're a great resource to so many HR professionals.
Thank you so much, Shauna. I really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so it is time to play true or false. Now,
Ooh,
here are the rules to true or false. This is the only rule. You cannot give me any context. You just have to tell me true or false. No explanation, just yay or nay. Okay?
okay.
You can explain later. You can explain later if you feel
Oh
like
God, I
it's
hope I get
something
it
like.
right.
But initially, we just want true or false. Okay? All right, here
Got it.
is the first question. You'll probably never use 90% of the material you study for the SHRM exam in your actual HR career.
No. Hmm. I'm gonna say false.
Okay? False for that one. Next question. Cramming the night before the SHRM exam is way more effective than consistent studying over several months.
That is definitely false.
Okay? Taking regular breaks while studying for the SHRM exam is not as important as studying itself.
Oh gosh. Oh, I'm not supposed to give any commentary. That's false.
Okay? You're more likely to remember the SHRM material if you create flashcards for difficult concepts.
True.
Okay? Skipping practice exams is okay as long as you're confident in understanding of the material.
I would say false.
Joining a study group always guarantees better results than studying alone for the SHRM exam.
False.
Ah, okay, very good. Next one. Passing the SHRM exam is more about test taking strategy than actual knowledge of HR concepts.
I'm gonna say false on that.
Okay, good. Hmm. I think we're gonna have to go back and talk about some of these.
Okay.
I'm gonna need to hear your commentary about some of these.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We have two more. This next one. The stress of studying for the SHRM exam makes it harder to remember key concepts.
Hmm. True.
Final one. You're more likely to pass the SHRM exam if you create a strict study schedule and stick to it no matter what.
True.
Okay, very good. Now, you know the one that I want to talk about. Passing the SHRM exam is more about test taking strategy than actual HR knowledge of HR concepts. And you said, did you say that
Whoop.
was false, right?
Wait, read that one again.
Passing the SHRM exam is more about test taking strategy than actual knowledge of HR concepts.
That's false.
False.
You
Okay.
have to, yes, yes. You have to
Okay.
know the HR concepts.
Okay.
I thought you were going to go back and ask me the one that says always. That's a key word.
That is a key word. You remember that one from test
Yes,
taking
I thought
techniques,
that's the
huh?
one you were going to ask me about. That's in tips, tricks, and
Yeah, it is. It's in
that's like
tips. You are exactly right. Okay.
yes.
So let's see. Out of all of these questions, which is there one that you're like, I don't know, need more context about that one, or did you get a pretty good feel for all of them?
I got a pretty good feel for all of them, but did I pass or fail?
Well, this was your opinion, so you didn't pass or fail. I think this was just good for people to know.
No,
You know,
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel like a lot of those questions you touched on with or we touched on during our conversation, like the flashcards, setting the study schedule. So,
yeah.
yes.
So is that kind of like what is your like if you were going to give somebody your blueprint, what would your blueprint look like? You would say start here and here.
I would say start with a schedule of how many hours you want to dedicate a week to studying. Well, first outline how many weeks you're going to study, how
Hmm.
many hours a week you're going to do that note take, note take, note take, flashcards, um, get Dory's book and your courses, of course. Yeah,
Yeah.
the 12-week course. So that was the biggest thing. If I could only pick one thing, it would be your 12-week course
Oh,
for sure.
I really
Yeah.
appreciate you saying that. That's
Yes, absolutely. That was the biggest impact because I mean, you're just so thorough of what you teach us and give us the opportunity to ask questions and it's very interactive, so yeah, that was the best resource. Everything else was to help support that, so
yeah, great. Well,
yeah.
good. It everything that you chose was good for you, led you to
Yes.
passing on the first try. Passing on the
Yes.
first try is like that's amazing, right? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know you walked out, and you should feel proud when you walked away from that testing center.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I was yeah.
All right, Shauna. Well, I appreciate you stopping by. I am
Yes,
not
great
going
to
to
see you
hold you.
again.
Yeah, it's very good to see you. I always miss you guys when we transition to another 12 weeks. I'm like, oh, we get to
I
be
know.
friends. And then
I
you
know, I
guys are just
know,
gone.
definitely.
It
Definitely.
sucks.
And I know I didn't get to go to the SHRM conference this year. I had
Mhm.
another commitment, but if I go next year, I'm definitely going to connect with you.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. I usually try to
yes.
hold like a night for everybody. We have a dinner and to meet. I don't know, it's such an attachment. You spend 12 weeks with somebody and then we talk almost on a
Oh,
daily basis because
I
you're either
know.
asking questions or we're doing quiz night and we get to know
Yes,
each other and then it's like, oh,
you do. You do.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
know.
That's the
I
hardest
told
part
you when
about
I
it.
saw your email post or your post the other day with the blue and yellow, I was like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, I remember looking for these every week.
It's so cool. So cool.
Yeah.
All right, Shauna. Well, thank you again for dropping by. Thank you
You're
for giving everybody a blueprint. This is going to be so helpful to somebody else.
awesome. I'm glad to help.
All
You
right.
can do it. Good luck.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you later.
All right. Thanks,
All
Angela.
right. Bye bye.
Bye.